Hi everyone, Linda Israel here, and I am working on the Canvas Corp brand's Traveling Art Journal. So the idea is this journal is shipped to lots of different ladies. There's 24 total, 2 groups of 12, and I'm going to work on my page. So the journal that I have today, the pages come out. So I've got my page laying here, and I've got a few supplies. The first thing I have is some clear modeling place by TCW, and I thought I would do some texture with this stencil from Tim Holtz. So I'm just dipping in with my cheap palette knife, a old card, and I'm just going to add some texture. This is clear, so I want it to dry clear, and then there'll be a little bit of white coming through where this texture is my hope. I've only played with this a couple of times, so sometimes, you know, playing in an art journal is a way to see what will work and how things react. I'm going to dry this and then I'll be back. I've got some Glam in Tanzanite. It's a real pretty purple and has glitter in it, so you shake it really well to get that glitter to mix up into the paint. And then I've got a foam brush that I'm just going to dip down in here and make a mess. I've got some Glam in Pitch Black, and so I'm going to add a little bit of this. I've got a paintbrush here. I'm dipping it in water just so that the brush is a little bit wet, and then I'm just going to kind of add this in. While this is still wet, I've got some Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist in Fully Purple. I'm going to spray some of this on here. I've got a sea sponge that I like to use. I've had it for a long time in my stash, and I'm just going to blend these colors together a little bit. Let this dry and I'll be back. I have a Tim Holtz stencil here with the alphabet, and I've put a little bit of gesso in my palette. I just want to use this as a quick stencil and add a little bit of color to this in white. I have a lid to a jar here, and I'm dipping it in the gesso. I'm just going to put some circles on here every so often. I've got a scrap of cardstock here. It has a watercolor texture, but I know that it's not watercolor paper. It was loose in my stash, and I thought I would use this to paint a little bit of a design on here to use in the journal page. So I've got a little bit of some gesso here. I'm just going to squirt some out on my palette and then spread it around. I think I've got a couple of stencils here that I want to use so I can add some cool texture. This is a Brutus Monroe stencil called Folk Wave. So I'm going to add a little bit of texture. I've got an old card here. This is a player's card. Here in Oklahoma we have a bunch of casinos, and my husband and I will kind of make it like a date night and go to the casino every so often. So I'm just adding a little bit of texture here. I've got a couple of colors of Glam. I've got Tail Fin, High Impact Paint in blue, and then I've got some Glam in Tanzanite. So I'm just going to try to add a little bit of this here and there. I've got a sea sponge. I've had one of these in my stash for years. So I'm just going to use it to add a little bit of this color on here. Dry this a little bit. I've got another stencil and I'm going to use it with some gesso just to add some white. I've got some Brutus Monroe Detail Ink and a couple of stamps laid out here. This one is a figure of a light bulb from Postmodern Designs. It's a stamp I've had for a long time, but I thought I would add just a little bit of texture by adding this image every so often. I think what I'm going to do once I have this put together is I'm going to die cut it into a butterfly shape. I've got this butterfly die from Ellen Tina cutting dies, and it's just this butterfly, and I think I want to use the silhouette. I'll die cut that and I'll be back. I've got the Ranger Dylusions clear stamps. I don't think this is clearly the right words. I don't know if this is what the name of the actual set is, but I like this. Until you spread your wings, you have no idea how far you fly. So I'm going to stamp this. I've got my Misty out here and I've got it loaded with a piece of white cardstock. So I'm just going to place it down here in the corner and pick it up. I'm going to use my Brutus Monroe Detail Ink. I've not used this stamp before, so it may need to be stamped a couple of times. A lot of people like to condition their stamps, and I don't take the time. I just do it when I've stamping. So there we go. We've got that stamped out. And I think what I'm going to do is fussy cut this apart. I like these little Fisker Micro Touch scissors because they don't hurt my hands. You know, a lot of those other scissors out there, you have to put your fingers in and you have to press really hard to get it to cut. So I'm going to cut this apart and I'll be back. Well, here are my die cut butterflies and the page so far. And I think what I want to do is glue down these butterflies so that I can add some more embellishment around them. So I've got some Brutus Monroe all-purpose craft glue, and I'm just going to put a little bit of this on the back side of each one of these butterflies and adhere it down. I want to go around these butterflies. I've got some pitch black glam from Tattered Angels and a little brush. So I'm just going to go around the edges of these butterflies to kind of get them to pop just a little bit. I'm going to adhere down the saying using the Brutus Monroe craft ink or craft glue. I think this will be a good spot to add it. I've got some Tattered Angels high impact paint in white and a brush here. I'm just going to go around these butterflies again, just adding a little bit of a white area. So I've signed it here at the bottom. I think as far as I'm concerned, I've got this journal page complete. I hope you like seeing what I did today using the various products from Tattered Angels, using the Glimmer Mist, the Glam, the high impact paint. I'll have a link to my blog post in the description box below so you can see all the details. But also make sure that you check out the Canvas Corp Brands blog, because that's where you'll see the Canvas Corp Brands CCB Traveling Art Journal. And there's a lot of other entries out there every month, until we get this back around to next year. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, give this video a thumbs up. Share it with your friends so others can see how I created this page and hopefully inspire them to create a page similar to this, or just use products a little bit differently. Again, I really appreciate everything that you do on my channel. When you like, you subscribe, comment, it makes a difference. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Have a fabulous day. Bye.